From South Florida, I'm Dave.
And here in Dallas, I'm Q.
And today we're going to talk about how not to demo to help you, your team, and your organization with better ways of working.
Better ways of working.
Okay, so if you're in an Agile team, you give a demo every once in a while, and that's the way Agile works. We want to show iterative, incremental progress throughout the iterations, sprints, whatever you call them, etc. So, Q, what are some pitfalls? What are some ways not to demo in this situation?
Well, I have a classical example for you. This happened a few years ago, okay?
Okay.
So I have this, and I'm going to be a bit geeky on my explanation here, but I think most of the people will get it. Okay. So I had this team. They spent the whole sprint to optimize a SQL query. If you're not familiar, SQL, it's a language that's used to query database and get results and etc. Right? Of course, it took them a while because the query had 8 outer joins. If you don't know what that is, take a look up on the web. It makes the queries really slow, right? So they spent the whole sprint optimizing. They got rid of all the outer joins and all that stuff. It was great. And then they go do their demo in front of senior leadership and all that stuff, bunch of teams. It was a very large group of teams. What do they show to everybody? The code. Of course, everybody look at that and I said, yeah, nice. And these guys were disheartened, right? I mean, we spent the whole sprint, the whole team to get this thing to work. So after the demo, they come to me and said, Q, I can't believe they didn't like this. This is great. I said, okay, so explain to me what you guys did. Well, Q, that query used to take about 6 minutes to run and now runs in about 20 seconds or so. It's much better. I said, man, that's great. But that's not what you guys showed. So they showed the code before and after. Nobody cares about that stuff. Well, how would you have demo this? I said, man, let me tell you, very simple. You guys go there and say, let me run the query right now. Okay, run the query. Show, I don't know, your burn down chart, your velocity, whatever. You start talking, right? And we did this work and all that stuff. And the query is still running, right? And then I tell them, when you're really close to talk about everything you had to talk, run the new query. It takes 20 seconds, like, boom, done. And the other one is still running. So their problem is they were so obsessed with their output, which is all the work they did during the sprint, and they're very proud of it. Rightly so. The people watching the demo don't care about that. The people watching the demo care about what's the outcome. Hey, instead of waiting 6 minutes for this thing to run, it does in about 20 seconds. Everybody gets it. Now, putting 2 pieces of SQL code one side by side with the other, nobody cares. So I think one mistake that teams make quite often, and you and I were just talking about this last week, is they concentrate on the output of the work, and they forget to clarify what is the outcome, which is, what can I do now that I couldn't do before? Or what can I do now that is cheaper, but better and faster? Showing source code if you're in the IT business, or showing how the sausage is made, nobody cares. I always use another example. There was one team, I was at the time a product manager. There was one team that came to me and said, Q, our sprint velocity is up by 5 points. I said, nice. And they were all disappointed. Said, guys, I don't care if you do 50 points or 100. I care is what's the outcome at the end of the sprint? And that's the mistake they all made.
Yeah, this is know your audience. This is a situation, know your audience. If you're giving a technical review with architects or other folks who can appreciate SQL code, then yes, that's the approach you should take, like when in your example. But I like to make analogies, and sometimes I make them super simple, but I think in this case would work. Think of a cooking show, right? If you watch, those TikTok videos, right? Think about it in terms of short clips where you see the ingredients and you see the final product. You don't see all of I heated the oven to 400 degrees. Let's wait 30 minutes while you watch this thing baking. People don't want to see that. We live in an age of short attention spans. It used to be, I think 7 minutes is what people could focus, and now it's like 7 seconds. people are busy all the time. You got to cut to the chase. And I like what you said in that, show the two running side by side and the one gets done in, under a minute. And look, the other one is still running. That's powerful. That leaves the executives, the leaders, the stakeholders to walk away and say, wow, this team is doing great work, and build the trust, build the confidence in the team. And for sure, it's really hard because especially, we're both engineers at heart, right? Like, we appreciate all of the optimization, all of the refactoring that goes into making things work faster, better. But you don't have a lot of time, and you just got to cut to the chase, and you just got to show, listen, this is, and like you said, the outcome. Now that this runs, 200% faster, 300% faster, that means the impact of that outcome is we get to run more of these faster. We reduce errors by 50%. Another thing leaders love, metrics. Don't have to be spot on, but you got to give them something to compare against. That now we've got, 2x, 3x, or 40%, 50% reduction. And, they may not hold you to it. They may hold you to it down the line, but the idea is you're painting the picture of the impact of what your team has done. And I think that's very important to build that trust, like I mentioned a minute ago.
Yeah. So I always tell my teams, don't be boring. If you're boring, nobody's going to pay attention to you. And it doesn't matter how good the work you did. If you cannot show that in a way that's compelling, that people understand, you're boring and nobody pays attention to you.
So this is something I've learned in the past talking to executives is always follow up with the impact along with the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everybody wants to know that. That is what I get from the work that you guys did the past 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know how long is your sprint. And if you're not even doing Scrum, you guys spend some time doing that. What's the outcome? What's the benefit?
What's the impact?
Yield to me?
Yeah. And one final word on this. I want to encourage teams not to spend a lot of time on this. You don't need to spend hours and shiny PowerPoint decks. Just take it from the standpoint of a user using a system, show them the benefits, and then have the discussion from there. You don't need to do a lot of upfront planning. That's the other thing I think people are concerned about, is that, I'm going to have to spend a day getting, no, not really. Again, sprint demos in Scrum are more about conversations, not just about updates. The conversations are gold. And that's where you're getting precious feedback that will go back into your backlog and make the product better. Things are emerging, things are evolving for your backlog.
That's it for this one.
Sounds good, folks. What do you think? Put something in the comments. Would you please give us a like or subscribe to the channel? We've been appreciating all the feedback lately and all the additional folks subscribing in the past month. So thanks to everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.